What's up my people, my name is Spicey and today we are reading Trick a naive woman into paying for unnecessary car parts, you will lose business from the entire community and your job. Boss did not let anybody leave after work. Enjoy being swatted. Congratulations the King Cat for the comment of the day, and everyone leave a fire emoji in the comments if you think the video is fire. Trick a naive woman into paying for unnecessary car parts? You will lose business from the entire community and your job. My family is from a pretty small town. It has a population of roughly 3,500 people, mostly old folks, but it serves as a hub of commerce for all the surrounding towns. Due to this, my town has a handful of car dealerships, and the one my family buys from is the most popular of all the local dealerships. A few years ago, during harvest season, I came home to help out, and it just happened that my car, a 1998 in an excellent shape, needed an oil change. Given that it's the busy season and my family is occupied trying to pull the crop from the ground, I decided to take my car into the local GM dealership. This dealership has been selling vehicles and parts to my family for literal generations, so I trusted them. I pull in, toss my keys into the hands of one of the mechanics after some idle chatter, and they get cozy in the waiting room. Less than half an hour passes and I am approached by the sales manager, Ronald, who is holding a stack of papers. Now, Ronald is one of the older men within the dealership. He is stern-faced and well-respected in his position. So when he sticks a pile of paperwork under my nose and tells me that my brakes are going away and they needed to be replaced ASAP or else I'm rightfully scared. Now, I'm a young woman and I know almost nothing about cars. So what do? I call my dad. My dad answers my call, irritated because he's being interrupted in the middle of his work, and tells me to order the parts and he will replace the brakes pad himself. I relay this to the sales manager. He then hands me over to the part manager. The information I was given was that my brake pads were almost entirely into the red and my rotor needed to be replaced as well because it was almost entirely rusted out. I find this information to be strange. You can usually tell when your brakes are going, right? A simple repair easily turns into a $400 plus expense. I am a university student and after buying what I was told to, I knew I was going to be eating only ramen for the rest of the month. So time passes, harvest is done, and my dad comes storming into the house one day. Now what you need to know was that my dad has an explosive temper. He would lose his mind over the small inconvenience. But this time, his rage was almost entirely silent, except for the stomping and slamming of the door. It is then I am being told to put on some pants because we are going into town. The entire 15 minutes of the trip was quiet. I was really scared the whole way until we pulled up to the dealership. For some context, my family is a relatively big name in our community as my father and 3 of my uncles all have their own separate homegrown businesses. A huge amount of their success is owed to some of the community, and as a way of saying thanks, my family frequently makes donations to public projects. It is pretty difficult to do business in town without running into someone who shares my surname. Inside the dealership, my dad tells me to sit down and shut up while he storms into the sales manager office, closing the door behind him. My dad almost instantly explodes with rage, and even through the shut door, everyone in the dealership heard exactly what my dad had to say. To summarize, Ronald, the sales manager, lied to me, which is not much of a surprise. You hear stories about people getting the hole pulled over their eyes all the time, especially women. Turns out, when my dad graciously began to replace my brake pads, he noticed immediately that I have been told a lot of BS. My brake pads were hardly worn and my rotor was perfectly fine. His only daughter had been tricked out of a lot of money and he was pissed. So my dad replaced everything and gave Ronald what was coming. He laid it out, telling Ronald exactly what he was going to do. My dad was going to tell everyone. He was going to tell his business partners, his friends, my uncles and their customers, and everyone in the local pub that night the truth and how everyone's favorite GM dealership tried to screw over his kid. My dad is a pretty popular guy and he knew how to work the power that small towns held. You see, if the daughter of an influential businessman can get screwed over, what about everyone else's kids and grandkids? In less than a week, word had spread across the entire town. The same year, the amount of GM vehicles around town became fewer and fewer. A new part shop opened up next door to my uncle's electrical shop, and it just so happens the Ford dealership in town built a brand new building to accommodate the influx of business just last year. I know firsthand that my family, extended included, buy their GM and Chevy vehicles from the province next door. I am absolutely certain that if this town was not as small as it was, nothing would have happened to the dealership or Ronald. But it goes to show the power of tight-knit communities. Old Ronald was eventually encouraged to retire. And the best part? My dad and I left the dealership that day with a personal check tucked in my wallet as an apology. No more ramen for me. The boss did not let anybody leave after finishing work. Enjoy being swatted. This story happened like 15 years ago. I witnessed the entire scene and laughed to the outcome for days. A little backstory. I live in Colombia, South Africa. I used to work for a USA bank, the one with an umbrella. Not the best place to work, but it has some great benefits, like mortgage loans with especially good low interest rate for the employees. Here in my country, by law, the companies must pay the employees an extra salary yearly payable half in June and half in December. It is called prima legal. And the bank goes an extra mile and pays the employee an extra 1.5 salary to be payable as well in June and December. The bank also pays for a premium health insurance on top of the basic but good health insurance required by law, among other things. These benefits were won by the union reps who negotiate with the bank the terms every 2 years. Here in my country, union reps are not very liked by the companies, and a bad union association could and had made a company go under and close operations. So joining the union is heavily discouraged in general. On the other hand, being a member of a union, especially if they were a rep of the union, is very dangerous here. It could get killed just for that. Now for the cast. Boss, the operations director for the bank, who was hired by the bank to specifically make a living hell to the union associates. An awful person, vindictive and cruel. The rep, a union rep who is an independent lawyer and works at the bank just to make boss regret working there. Gala, a special police force that deals with kidnapping and extortion. Guard, a security guard in charge of letting employees leave the premises. Now for the story. The rep, being a lawyer who had his own clients, works strictly the legal time required by his contract. Then he goes to his other business office to attend his legal cases. So he generally clocks out before anyone else who stayed finishing their job and making other tasks. The boss noticed the representative behavior and introduced a new policy. Nobody is going to leave the premises until everyone was ready to leave. So the bank security locks everyone in, and we could not leave until everyone was ready. One day, not long after that, the representative had an appointment with a client and went to the exit and asked the security guard to let him out. The guard told him that he could not leave until the boss and everyone else go. So he went to speak to the boss, and she told him that he has to stay like everyone else and that if he didn't like it, he should quit his bank job, otherwise he would lose his other business and lose money. He did not say anything more and went to his chair looking defeated. Boss was delighted, told everyone there that she had him and started to make fun of him. What boss didn't know was that he has been waiting for this opportunity since she put this new policy in place, and he knew he was not going to take long before he had to be on a meeting with a client. On his workstation, he called the police and asked them to transfer his call to Special Gala unit in charge of kidnappings. About 20 minutes after he called the police, the Gala unit arrives at the bank. No less than 15 heavily armed police officers. Picture something like 15 heavily armed SWAT storm at the front door of the bank. The police inform him that they receive a call that a kidnapped victim was held in the bank. The guard called the boss, who ran out of her office to the front door to deal with the situation. In the meantime, the representative was with the most satisfying smile on his face. I remember to be scared like everyone else, and when I looked at him smiling, I began to realize what was happening. The boss started screaming at the police Gala units that there were no kidnapped victim in the bank. Then the representative raises his voice and said, "Yes, there is. I am the victim." "You're not kidnapped?" She screams, "I am being held here against my will and that is kidnapping," he calmly replied. The boss looked at him with her eyes wide open, realizing the major screwed up she put herself into, and said, "But I am not detaining you against your will." "Yes, you are. I went to your desk and told you that I finished my work and needed to leave, and you told me that no, that I could not go because of the new policy you implemented. So I am being held against my will. See?"
Do you want to press charges, sir?
"Yes, I do." "No, go, leave. Nobody is detaining you." "Officer, there are older people here who finished their work and they are also detained here against their will." No. Anybody who finished their work or wanna go, you can leave," she screamed. So we went to her homes and the boss had to stay in the bank on the line with the legal department and her boss. The rep went to see his client. The boss did not get fired. That was what she was hired to do, I guess. I never knew how a person like that could be working for so many years, being so racist and a bad person in general, stepping over anyone. So the fact that she did not get fired for that or the many other things she pulled off was because the bank encouraged it, I guess. Hey, did you like this pro revenge video? If you did, check my playlist right here. I bet you will love it. These videos take me a lot of effort to make, so if you can show me some support by liking the video and subscribing, this will mean the world to me. Also hit the bell button to know when we post a new video and join the notification gang. Thank you again for watching episode 4 of Pro Revenge. See ya!